dive right in. So hello, everybody. I am Miss Tevis Rose Trower, founder and CEO of Balance Integration, here to host you on a Game Changer chat in celebration of my book. My book is coming out in 11 days. It is so freaking exciting. I've been pregnant with this book for like 12 years. So I started this series of talks basically because I thought about how it's so easy to go to the movies or to hear some story on the TED stage. And yes, Coss has done a TED talk, but that's beside the point. And these people tell these stories and they seem so like superhuman, otherworldly about changing the world, changing their lives, etc. And I thought, do you know, I feel like I meet people all the time who have done really amazing things and have not only shifted their own lives, but shifted their lives in such a way that they have become a benefit or a blessing or a boon, right, to the lives they touch. And so we started this series of conversations because right now, the world needs all of us. It is all hands on deck. This is no sleep for the weary time, my friends. We need everyone to be stepping up their game and to really asking themselves some tough questions and some loving questions about how is it that I make sure that the world I leave in my wake is a little bit better than the one I plowed into. And so without further ado, we're going to talk to Coss Marte, who is one of my favorite exemplars of this. I'm going to let Coss tell you about his amazing story, but I will just give you a tiny preamble because I have a habit of just plowing into these things. And then people say, I wish I knew more about whoever was on the show with you. Coss and I were connected back when I had a podcast, and the guys who were producing the podcast said, you got to meet this guy, Coss Marte. He just did a TEDx talk, and so Coss will probably tell you more about his own story, but just suffice to say, by his late teens, early 20s, he was a drug lord in New York City, and found his way into the federal penal system, and that actually became a stroke of grace for him. And that actually helped him find a way to ask himself some hard questions about what kind of self-respect he was living with and turn around and help others to do the same. So without further ado, this is my from afar friend, because we've never actually met in person, but we've always had a great time in these things. So hi, Coss.
Hi, thank you for having me on, Tevis. I appreciate it.
It's so awesome. Well, so one of the things I love to ask people when we dive into these conversations, because I think it's really easy to put on our face, right? To go into that elevator pitch. Some well-meaning mentor have said you've got to have an elevator pitch, or you got to have your story down, which is sound advice in some instances, but I feel like what really inspires people, or what really allows us to be an instrument through which other people can more truly connect to themselves, is actually the most innocent, playful parts of ourselves, right? The parts of us that are like a child. And so I love to ask people as we dive in, like, when you think of yourself as a little kid, what was the most fun thing for you? What was the thing you just couldn't wait to get to do?
I think as a little kid, I couldn't wait to just go outside, open up a fire hydrant on the corner of, Forsyth and Rivington, and
oh, that's Yuppieville now, Coss. You got to give people some context.
Yeah, opening up a fire hydrant in New York City in the summer was a typical thing. You don't really see that anymore because kids are stuck at home, playing video games, stuff like that. But back in the day, yeah, we used to, steal our parents' wrench or something and you know, crank that thing open and then have the fire department close it back down, and then we'll open it up again. And then we'll take like a Goya can or something, and we'll open up both of the sides of the tops, and that'll be like a launch shooter. You know, you'll put the can on both sides, and that'll be like your sprayer. And people get in front of it, and that was fun. And then we started making. We were making a little bit of money with, you know, washing cars. We'll have like a cardboard sign, you know, pay us like $2 to wash your car, and we'll spray and throw like a bucket of soap on somebody's car that was passing by, and then just wipe it down, and we'll make it. That was fun.
That sounds fun. And what I'm also hearing, so I'm hearing a couple things. One, that you were super inventive, like to take a Goya can and turn it into basically a fire hose, right? That you could get directionality. Like that took some thinking. But the other thing I really hear is
I didn't invent that. That was like a old school thing that I just seen happen.
Damn it, here I was trying to make you sound like Einstein.
I don't want to take credit for inventing the double-sided Goya can opener, you know.
Well, okay. At least you're honest.
But I was, no one was really making money off of washing cars like that. So that's something that I was.
The entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
So you've always liked money.
I was always money hungry as a kid. Like,
really?
Yeah, I'm not money hungry like that anymore. Like I definitely like making money, but I'm not like doing anything for money, or, you know, I'd be back in the day, I was like going in people's couches, you know, collecting all the change.
Feeling the change. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
or collecting cans.
So I would go through my mom's coat pockets.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, all the loose change.
Yeah, loose change. So, who taught you to love money that much? Do you think that came from your family?
I don't think so. I don't know. I think it was maybe the fact that a lot of the kids around me had stuff, and I really didn't have much. I was living on a couch, you know, in my aunt's apartment with my mom.
Yeah.
You know? And then so I grew up in a building where the whole 5th floor was all my cousins and uncles, and like we all grew up together, and pretty much everybody, all my cousins had like a game system, like a Game Boy or an Atari or a Nintendo, and I was like jealous that my mom, you know, couldn't buy that for us.
Yeah.
And so I said I wanted money, you know, so I could get all things. And I think there's where that sparked.
Yeah. Okay. So that longing to have what the other kids had, right? And to so you turn that into an entrepreneurial like impulse. It sounds like pretty young. And as the story goes, because folks can tune into your TED Talk and stuff, you ended up really having quite an empire, a drug empire, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that trajectory from being this young kid just going, I'm going to play in the hydrant, and then going, wait a minute, we could wash people's cars and make money, to starting to build an empire. From what I know about how quickly all that happened, that was not a lot of years from A to B. No.
I mean, I was like a 5-year-old kid, you know, like hustling, and then maybe like 9-10-year-old kid that was selling chocolate on the train station, you know, like but yeah, that's what I did. And that trajectory right there was from just seeing everybody in my neighborhood, seeing my older cousins being involved, hustling and getting money and wearing the chains, and I guess like, you know, seeing that as like a success. And that's you know, what I want to be when I grow up. And at 13, I started dealing. And it came to me pretty easily. Like it was a supply and demand for me. So I was smoking weed at 11, going to junior high, and the other kids will scramble up for a couple dollars and tell me, "Yo, can you get me a bag of weed from somebody down the block?" And I knew the guy lived in my building, and I'll go and get it, and then come back, and we would smoke. And then I was like, you know what, I'm buying a bigger amount for myself, and I'm gonna sell to all the kids in school. And it became meteor.
The thing you said though that kind of strikes me as a powerful thing for all of us to think about is, like you said really clearly a second ago, like that was how I defined success, right? And I think every subculture, right, whether you're the kid growing up in the burbs and they get a definition of success, like you like check things off, right? You check off what kind of stuff do you own, what do you wear, how do you spend your time, who do you hang out with, like all these accoutrement that mean I'm safe, I'm successful, I'm in the tribe, right, I'm in the pack, or what the hell would I be if I weren't a part of that, right? And what I love about hearing you say that so clearly is I think most of us are really unconscious about what boxes we check to be able to call ourselves successful or to belong can be really unconscious, right? And it can lead us away from who we really are, whether it means I think I got to be an investment banker, or I'm just not going to be important and belong, or I think I've got to be the head of a drug empire and have a lot of money and have chains and have all the fancy cars, because I know that you had all that stuff, right? And I think what's interesting about our subcultures is really to back up and say, what does my culture say the definition of success is, and how does that align with who I am, right? Because at some point you got the old kick in the cosmic kick in the side of your head that said, this isn't going to work for you long term.
Yep. And I don't define success that way today.
No, clearly not. Well, so when all this was happening, was there a part of you inside of you? Because I know a lot of us, to this day, I'm 51. I routinely, and ask my team, they're on this call, I'm always asking myself, like, is whatever I'm doing now, is this really my highest contribution I could be making with this lifetime? Because this is the only one I know I get, right?
Yeah.
And I can think back throughout my life, and I can think back to instances throughout my life where I've asked that question, and that voice inside of me has been like, no, ma'am, this is not it, right? Did you have that feeling, like, as you were coming up, did you have that feeling like this is not commensurate with the greatness inside of you, Coss? Did you ever have a voice that said that?
I think I was so cold-hearted that I really didn't care, what I had to do or step over, to get that money or to gain what I thought was success. Like, I just didn't, I don't know. That was just my mentality.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a soft heart where and even if I cried, it was more of a fake cry, to try to cheat my way up or something. You know? For example, just say, like, being pulled over by cops. I was getting pulled over by cops and stopped by cops on the street, just walking to the bodega 2 or 3 times a day.
Wow.
And that was a norm. And it was something that, when they stopped me, I would be like, maybe I was up to no good, but overall I was up to no good. But some days I was just walking down the block and I'm minding my own business. And
some days you just wanted a Coca-Cola.
Exactly. I'm like going to get a cup of coffee, and then put your hands on the wall and just search me. So.
Yeah.
But then I would always like know that I'm doing something wrong, but then play the victim and be like, damn,
Yeah.
these cops, you know, they keep harassing me, blah, blah, blah. Even though I don't think it was a great thing to do. I don't think stop and frisk is the right thing to do.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah. How you felt about stop and frisk.
Yeah, I think it was majority like discriminating against minorities, thinking that every minority kid is doing something wrong, whether it's just like smoking a bag of weed, which is now, you know, legal.
Yeah.
That's how my journey started, you know, where I sold a bag of weed and I was smoking with one of my clients in the park, and then I got arrested for the first time at 13, and from there just started spiraling down to probation and then jail and then going to parole and prison time and those other stuff. So I was in the system from 13 all the way to 29, you know, so 16 years.
16 years of your life. How old are you now?
I'm 30. I'm 34 now. I'll be 35.
34. So 16 years, so basically half of your life in the system.
Mm-hmm.
But you've been out now for 5 years, right?
No, 6.5.
6.5 years. Okay, so something shifted.
Yep.
Because this man I'm talking to right now, I can feel his heart, right? And either you became a really good actor, which I don't know if they have acting classes in prison, but I don't think so. Well, maybe they do, because
they actually do. They're doing like this. This guy actually spoke to this guy. He a very progressive guy. He's older. He like worked with like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X back in the 60s and stuff like that. But he works in I forget which state, but somewhere in the middle of America. I think it's like Montana or South Dakota.
Flyover state.
Well, yeah, he's bringing Shakespeare inside prisons.
Wow. I think I think the times I played around with theater and improv and all those forms of creativity that really force you to get to your own truth, right? I think they're super powerful. But so what shifted for you? Because at some point, putting money above everything else was no longer your truth. And I'm just curious, because I think, forget the drug thing, right? Just for a second. I think right now we as a nation have put money before all else in a lot of ways. And from a conscious capitalism perspective, right, there is a longing and there's a need for conversations about what else matters, right? Do human beings matter? Does kindness matter, right? Does goodness matter? Does diversity matter? Does the environment matter, right? All these questions about really the interconnectedness of the reality of being alive on this planet, right? And I don't think it's a big leap if you really think about it, that what you're doing is really, it's kind of echoed in a lot of our cultural assumptions, right? That money is king.
Yeah.
So you may not have been a part of a formal economy in pursuit of that, but it's the same set of assumptions in a lot of ways. So, so how did it happen? How did you suddenly go, what the?
Yeah, I mean, I had a moment. I call it a spiritual awakening from my end. I was towards the end of my incarceration. I had about 2 months left to go home. I had this officer call me down to the bubble. Basically, that's like the officer's desk in prison, and you go up there and they tell you, you know, you have a package, or you have you go report to this unit. So basically he told me to go report to the medical unit. At this time I was waiting to see a dentist for 3 years because you don't see a dentist, or, you know, you're on a waiting list to see a dentist. It takes a very, very long time to see a dentist. So when he tells me that, he's like, go report to the medical unit. And I'm like very excited to go down. I brush my teeth. I head over, and this officer places me on the wall. And he's like, this is a drug test. And I'm like, okay, I haven't, done any drugs. I'm clean. And he places me on the wall and he starts searching me very, very aggressively, like tapping between my legs. I felt uncomfortable. And as he was doing that, I moved my body just a bit. And like I twitched. And he punched me behind my head and he said, today's not my day. Don't fuck with me. And he knocked me down to the ground. I had glasses at that time. I picked up my glasses. I turned around on the officer to avoid another hit. And he said I was attempting to assault him. So he presses this button in his walkie-talkie. As soon as that button is pressed, about a half a dozen officers come to the scene. They beat the crap out of me. They shackle me up and they walk me into solitary confinement. Now I'm facing way more time in prison. I was not coming home in 2 months, and then also I before then, I recently saw my son in the visiting room, and I told him I'm coming home soon, and I promised him that everything's going to be great, and he was about 5 at that time, and I'm in solitary confinement now. 24-hour lockdown is middle of summer.
Was this the first time that you had ever been in solitary?
No.
No. Okay. So you know what it was going to be like for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. I think the most devastating thing about that moment was that I was supposed to go home and now I'm not going home.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing an extra year in prison behind that situation.
Wow.
And so I'm pacing back and forth in my prison cell, not knowing what to do. And I'm in there for a couple hours, and this officer comes up to my door and passes me a paper pen and an envelope. And I quickly grab it. I wrote out this letter letting them my family know I'm in a troubled situation. Like, I explained to them everything. Long, extensive letter. I closed this letter in the envelope, and then I realized I had no stamp to send out this letter with. And so I was even more devastated. I had no way of communicating with my family. I was banging my head on the wall. I felt hopeless. I felt like I had no way to escape. And it was not until a couple of days later, my sister, who's like super religious, like Mother Teresa's child, she she writes me a letter and tells me, there you go. She tells me to read Psalm 91 from the Bible. The only thing that follows you around throughout your whole prison sentence is your religious item, whether you have a Quran or whatever, or a Bible, or Torah or whatever. Like, that's the only thing that follows you. And so I had this Bible that she gave me on early in my incarceration and never opened it up. And when she wrote me that letter, I was like, God is not going to help me. I don't need God. I need a lawyer. I need to get out of this situation. I need to fight this case. And so I opened up the Bible after being bored, 24-hour lockdown, a couple days later, and I turned to Psalm 91, which states, he who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say, the Lord, he is my fortress, and my God, who I trust. And I, as soon as I read those words, a stamp fell out of my Bible. There was a stamp in between the Psalm pages, and I felt chills.
Did he tell you to look in that verse? You just went to that verse.
This is 3.5 years of me being incarcerated, having that Bible, never opening it up. It was not in that verse. It was in between the Psalm pages somewhere. And I like lay back on my bed and I'm reading it, and it dropped to my chest, and I'm like, I just felt like there was something bigger than myself at that very moment, and I felt like there was whether it was there or not, it just really humbled me, because something that is probably the cheapest item that we could purchase today, really woke me up. And and I got to send out that message with my family, and figured things out. They wanted me to do 3 more years behind the situation. I got the opportunity to come home in a year, and in that cell, I said, I started praying, and I was in that cell for 30 days in 24-hour lockdown, basically naked, over 100 degrees every single day, and bugs crawling on my bed. And you get 2 showers a week, limited food. So it's a messed up situation.
Yeah.
And I started praying and asked, for me to change and do something else with my life. And this is where ConBody started. There's where the idea of ConBody started. I was already helping the inmates work out. I got fit myself. That was my passion. And I started just, coming up with a whole formula. I came out with a book behind it in 2018, a workout book called ConBody. So I put like a 3-month, 90-day workout plan together in that cell. And I said, I want to start a boot camp business. And I wrote a fake mini business plan.
Well, fake or not, I mean, it's now a business that is
real.
supporting you, supporting other people. You've trained trainers. So it doesn't sound so fake to me.
No, I mean, it was not the typical structured MBA outline.
Oh my God, that's a con. Coss, that is a con. The fact that there's one way to write a business plan is the biggest con on the planet. The only thing that makes a business plan is that you think through it and then you actually freaking do it, because that's the business. So,
That's true.
but if I recall correctly, you had also had a doctor in prison say to you, if you don't change, you're going to die. You've got the body of a 60-year-old and you're like 22 or something. I forget the whole story, but so.
Yeah, I was in that, when I first got into prison, they told me my cholesterol levels were through the roof. And if I didn't start working out or eating correctly, that I could probably die of a heart attack within 5 years, and I was sentenced a 7-year sentence. So
yeah,
said I didn't want to die in this situation. I wanted to come home and be there for my son. So I started working out obsessively. It didn't change my mentality. It didn't change, at that time I was still dealing drugs. And I was still like, all about money.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that situation that I tell you about was what really sparked something in me.
Yeah. So Coss, when that stamp came down, right? And you start praying and you start asking for guidance. I know a lot of people are going through really hard times right now, right? We all do. I do some volunteer work at a food bank, and I drove by the food bank on Tuesday mornings. They have a farmer's market, and I happened to drive by it. My days to volunteer are on Mondays and Thursdays. I just happened to drive by, and I was really struck by how many people were standing in line. And we're talking all ages, all shapes, all sizes, all races, all levels of clothing. Like, we're not just talking the stereotype of who you think is going to be in a food line, right?
Yep.
And the reason I want to ask about those moments of grace. So you had the canary in the coal mine of the doctor saying, you better get your act together because the incidence of heart attack is worse in prison. Obviously, it's highly stressful, and you can die, and then you have this horrible experience in solitary that ends up being the moment of grace. The reason I'm circling in on this is I think a lot of us get these wake-up calls, right? And sometimes it's a threat to our physical well-being. Sometimes it's a moment of grace where we are reminded of goodness or of hope, as you were. And then a lot of times we circle back down into despair, right? So having that call to something greater does not mean things are going to get easy, correct? Like, was it a cakewalk for you after that?
Hell no. I think I've experienced harder times after being released from prison than I've ever faced before. You know.
Thank you for saying that. I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, it was a struggle. You know, I came home very, very optimistic. I'm still a very optimistic person, but I came home to my mom. I lost everything I had. All the money and all that stuff was gone. The only thing I had was like 500 pairs of Jordan sneakers that I sold.
You did sell them?
Yeah, I sold them.
Were they worth a lot?
They were worth a good amount. You know, I used
500 pairs?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm gonna call you Imelda Marcos from now on.
Well, no, it was back in the day. It was just like spending money frivolously and just like not really caring and just putting stuff in the side. I didn't think it was going to be something that I sold. It was just like, you know, throw them in the side, and I had them in storage for a while. And yeah, I mean, I came home and I started selling them. But I came home and I moved in with my mom and her couch. She was charging me $200 of rent a month to sleep on a couch. I couldn't even afford that because I couldn't get a job. It was a struggle. It was a struggle. And right away, there was a whole bunch of temptations where, you know, guys that I went back to the same neighborhood, you know, guys that I knew that was still in the game. They were like, hey, I know you have the connect still, you know, can you hook me up? And I was like, well, I don't even know where to find a cigarette at. So, you know, get away from me. And so that was my response to all that stuff. And I just knew I had a vision that I wanted to start this fitness company. And across the street from my mom was this park. We call it Forsyth Park in the neighborhood.
I know where Forsyth Park is.
No, Forsyth Street. And so.
Is that where you had me sweating my ass off on Saturday?
Yeah. That's what we're doing the workouts there now.
Y'all, I'm serious. This workout is for real. Like, it is so freaking hard. I had just come from CrossFit, which was a mistake.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it
should be class.
It was horrible. My thighs were on fire. Anyway, well, but the reason I think this is cool is a lot of times we want to think that because we're doing the right thing, because we're cleaning up our life, because we're aligning with a higher power, with a more true and wise voice inside of ourselves, whatever we believe in, right? We think it's going to get easier.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so glad to hear you say that, because when it doesn't get easier, a lot of times we think, oh, see, I should just abandon ship. I should go back to dealing. I should go back and get another soul draining job I hate that is bad for the environment, or is with an organization whose values I don't align with, you know, blah, 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 blah. And when we read about the trials, right, and the archetypal kind of a journey, right, the hero is always, he's got another dragon, another this, another that. And like, it seems like almost the closer he or she gets to breakthrough, the more intense those trials actually become.
Yep.
And it sounds like you were getting closer to breakthrough, but you're like, crap, I can't even give mom $200 a month because I can't get a job because I'm a convict or an ex-con, right?
Yeah. And then I started doing whatever. You know, not even legal jobs. I was working off the books, but I was just doing housekeeping jobs for one of my uncles, and we've been documenting my whole journey. I actually teamed up with this famous 4-time Academy Award director called Deborah Granick. She actually featured a film last year in Woodstock over there.
What was it?
Leave No Trace with Ben Foster.
Oh, I'm gonna have to pull it up. Damn it! I wish I'd known that. And
Yeah,
she's making a story of your life.
She's been documenting my journey for the last 2 years. She's been following me around since I was a housekeeper and doing workouts outside in the park. You know, trying to get people, trying to go on the subway carts and making announcements and trying to make it happen.
Yeah. Wow. So where are you now? Let's talk about what you're doing now, because well, back when I met you was like 3 or 4 years ago. So you were like 3 years out, right? And you were cutting deals with Saks Fifth Avenue. Like, it was all so cool to do con body, all the rich people. Oh, I get to go hang out with the next convict, right? Like, it's so like liberal elite, right? But
I think that the biggest thing that we got out of that was just that we changed those people's perspectives on how they view somebody that's been incarcerated. Because we were getting those, you know, people that were walking around with Louis Vuitton bags and, you know, walking with their head up high. And they would look at it because we built the whole prison workout studio there.
I remember.
And it said, this is a prison style boot camp where we employ, you know, formerly incarcerated individuals. And so we had a big sign there, and they would stop and read it, and they would be like, oh my God, and they'll just turn their head. And then one of my employees would go after them and be like, hey, well, you know, everything is okay.
Come work out. Yeah.
No, one of my employees, she did 22 years in prison. She was like the manager at the store there. And she was just like, you know, everything okay? You know, I saw you read the message and then walk out. And she was like, and the ladies or anybody would ask them like, you were locked up before? And she would talk very professional and very charismatic. And she was like, yeah, you know, I committed a mistake when I was younger, but, you know, today we're doing something new, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, oh my God. And that'll break down the whole stereotype of what these people would see on TV for so many years. Like, we watch A&E and all these locked up shows, and they show that, you know, this big black predator person is, you know, gonna attack you or rob you or kill you or whatever. And the reality is most people that are doing time just want to go home and do their time, you know, and just get back to their family and provide some wage. So, but most of them don't have the opportunity to accelerate and get that opportunity to excel. And
well, so ConBody has been a way for you to give people an entry ramp into society.
Yep.
Right. How many people have you put through like your training and stuff?
So 47 people we've hired since today. 0% of them have gone back into the system.
Oh my God.
And we've trained over 50,000 people. No.
You've trained over 50,000. Well, 50,001 who got her ass kicked.
Yeah, no, virtually, and now due to COVID, you know, people can do their workouts Zoom just like you did.
But Coss, when you train someone how to train people the way you train them, right? Like train them to be a physical trainer the way that you are. Do they go off and find their own clients and stuff, or do they stay with you? Do they use the ConBody name? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, both. I mean, what we do is teach classes. And so most of them have like private clients that they gain on their own. But in terms of classes, they stick with us. And that's been what's been going on for the last few years. I'm not taking away from, you know, them trying to excel and trying to get more money, they'll have their private clients, but group training, they work with us.
And was the idea back in the day before COVID, was it to have con bodies all over the country, like a CrossFit kind of a franchise thing,
Yeah.
or what were you thinking?
Yeah, no, so I've gotten over like 70 franchise requests today, and it's been an enormous, even through COVID, people are like, yeah, I want to open up a ConBody location in Wisconsin. And I'm like, well, we're trying to figure it out. You know, we're working on a more digital play right now. So yeah, I mean, that's eventually the goal. I want to hire as many people coming out of the prison system, open up more spots. You know, like there's other fitness studios that have done it, like Orange Theory or, you know, F45 or Barry's Boot Camp. You know, they've opened up a lot of.
I've done all of those, and ConBody's harder.
Yeah. and with no equipment, you know.
And with no equipment. So your overhead is lower.
Yeah.
The possibility of shrinkage, right? People walking out the door with the equipment is lower. Chance for injury is lower, right? Because you're just using your own body weight. No, I'm a fan. So, okay. And right now, you are starting Second Chance Media. So tell me how you.
So Second Chance Studio started with my brother's boss. So my brother's a local politician downtown Manhattan, and he's actually running for city council now. He lost 3 years ago against an incumbent.
What's his name?
Christopher Marte.
Christopher Marte. Okay.
He's a committeeman now, which is a position that he holds now. So, but yeah, he also works at the Arena full time, which is like political consulting company that helps minorities get into office.
Wow.
His boss there reached out to me after we had a meeting, and he was like, I want to get involved more with the criminal justice space. And we had this podcast, a trainer and I, called Ex Dealer, Ex Junkie, and it's a funny podcast. If you listen to it, we get pretty crazy.
Listen to Ex Dealer, Ex Junkie.
Yeah, it talks about like my personal life, which is crazy, and his personal life, which is even more crazier. Anyway, so yeah, he approached us and he was like, what do you think about like helping formerly incarcerated people be trained in podcasting, audio engineering, video production stuff? And I was like, I really like that idea, even as we're doing a lot of video workouts. So you could do a $9 a month workout video with us on our platform. Like, even when you do that, I need people that on a back end that could do video, audio production. And I'm contracting these individuals that, you know, never been incarcerated, you know, these other companies. And I would love to hire people, you know, that have been in this system that can do that. So we started this program, this nonprofit organization, and we're getting 12 individuals to join the program. We're calling them fellows. And then we're going to get them a job, whether it's through me or working at a corporation. We already have them off, signed up to mentor us and also provide assistance in employment. We also have, we're talking to Spotify, we're talking to Vice. So we're talking to big corporations that are willing to hire our individuals coming out of our program.
Yeah. So when you get them, like when they come out, and forgive me please, that I'm not super savvy about what level of skill they're coming in with. Like, I assume that when they come to you, they have spent some time on computers, and that what you're training them on is either software platforms of how to edit and stuff like that. Is that kind of the curriculum that you're exposing them to?
Yeah, that, and then also like speech classes, you know, learning how to present.
Personal presentation. Wow.
Yeah, so like the MOF that's going to be doing like storytelling presentation, like a 6-week workshop. That's we also have like engineering people that's going to be helping them, you know how to. I want to learn. I'm going through a program as well as I started, because like all the ins and outs, you know, how to work the whole board. and video and all that stuff, you know, angles and how to shoot and all that stuff. So
the storytelling, the visual production, the audio production, and editing,
yeah.
And then just professional skills, right?
Yeah, and doing externship. So we're working with these corporations that they're gonna have like a 3-month externship towards the end of their graduation. And if they do well enough, they could be hired by these corporations. So
wow,
that's the goal.
Cost all that from a kid who had the idea of washing cars for $2 out of a hydrant.
Yeah.
Right? You got to do this.
I guess.
Right? Go ahead, do it. I'm going to get mad at you if you don't give yourself a little pat on the back. So folks want to probably ask you some questions. I want to ask you a quick question, though, before I let them ask you questions, because I'm greedy. How many people are you going to try and put through this?
So 12 fellows.
12 fellows.
First cohort. We're starting in January. And yeah, that's the goal.
Okay. And what can we do to help?
If you want to sign up as a mentor, if you have any expertise in all the above that I described, you know, you could go to secondchancestudios.org and sign up through there to be a mentor. Also, any donation counts. We have to raise $1 million to make everything possible. So every fellow that's going to go through a program, I'm going to actually provide them with a salary.
Okay.
And so that's the goal, is to, you know, provide them with it, because when you left out of prison, you only given $40 in a bus ticket. And so where do you go from there?
Yeah.
So how do you survive? So the question is, if you don't have any family members, you're sent to a halfway house or shelter to live in. And so we want to provide actual cash and a livable wage. And we have housing that we partnered up with that's going to be provided for them as well. So yeah, I mean, that's the goal. Okay.
Okay. So I'm just going to pause real quickly. Does anyone have a question for Coss? I know that a couple people dropped, but I just wanted to see if we do have questions. It doesn't look like it. Hang on. Okay. Send the link. Okay, they want the link. Can you tell them the link for how to give? Great to see you too, Kristen. I adore you, and I want to hear how you're doing. So pop me an email. But how can they kick in some money to support you, Coss? Is there?
Yeah, you could go to secondchancestudios.org. I'll put it in the chat right now. So secondchancestudios.org.
Okay. Okay, great. Coss, I'm going to reach out because I've won a couple story slams, and I've been working with some storytelling folks. And so if there's anything I can do to mentor, to support you, just tell us. I'm really grateful to you because I feel like you are like light years away from that guy who only cared about money. And I only hope more of us can make that journey because the world needs us to care about a whole lot more than money. So I thank you. I would love it. You people, whoever ever sees this, get my book. Okay, I'll beat you over the head with it. Get my book, because this is really about how do you tap in to your deepest held belief system, and how do you act on that and guiding your life forward, because that's what we need right now. We need more people like Coss, more people like me, more people like you, whoever you are, to ask yourself, what does the world need? Coss is serving by saying, what does the world need? We need for these people who our system might just like throw away and say they have nothing, and giving them a way to shine as a human being and be productive parts of our world. And I have a feeling every one of us can be moving something forward to make the world a better place. So Coss Marte, I know you know this, but you are such a freaking badass. I'm really grateful to have you on here. Whatever I can do to support you, you've got me in your back pocket. So thank you, everyone. And Coss?
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Bye, you guys.
All right. Bye-bye.